G'day guys! Those who have been following this channel for a while will know that I like to keep things very positive around here. I like to talk about the fun things that we can do with our rules, I like to talk about the amazing things about this game, and I try not to make too many videos with a negative tone or a negative sort of topic. However, something recently has happened with Games Workshop that has really rubbed me the wrong way. It's really pissed me off, to be honest, and I want to basically take this opportunity to share my concerns and share my challenges with you, get a conversation going in the comments below, and sort of hash this out, and maybe we can bounce some ideas off each other on ways that we can sort of, as a community, resolve these issues going forward. So with that being said, we're going to jump into today's episode.
Welcome to the Black God.
G'day guys! As many of you will know, I'm generally pretty positive and pretty supportive of things that Games Workshop do, and I generally push back on a lot of the negativity out there in the community about GW's actions, whether they be pricing, whether they be, you know, the balance of the game, those sorts of things. And the reason that I generally do this is because I love Warhammer 40k. A lot of my life centers around it, and it's because it's such an amazing game and an amazing hobby, and I'm thankful for GW for providing it. Sure, they don't always hit the nail on the head. Sure, sometimes they make mistakes, but generally speaking, they provide us with something that's truly amazing, and I'm very appreciative, so I try to reserve my criticism as best as possible. However, there's been a recent situation with this World Eaters Codex that has really rubbed me the wrong way, and I feel like it's worthy of criticism. So I want to break that down with you guys now and see whether or not you've experienced something similar. Get a conversation going in the comments below about, some of the challenges that we have with Games Workshop, so that perhaps, they can become more aware of these challenges and potentially look into solving them going forward, hopefully. So that's the goal of today's video. It's going to come across as a bit of a rant and a bit of a sook, I guess. But I think it's justified, and I think there's plenty of people out there in the community that feel the same way. And if you're one of them, I want to have a conversation in the comments below about some of your grievances with GW. So the recent one that's sparked this video is all around this World Eaters release. They fucking royally botched it up. So there's three main topics that I want to talk about. One of them is the codex itself, the anemic nature of it, the lack of powerful rules, the lack of options, the lack of diversity, the lack of units, all that sort of stuff. The next, I want to talk about the limited edition codex, or the collector's edition codex, and the way that that was handled, which in my opinion was handled piss poor. And then third, I want to talk about the actual release of the models and the way that the distribution worked. So let's break it down. So the first grievance that I have is with the codex itself. Now, I've been waiting for a World Eaters Codex since I was fucking 15 years old. Since I first got into Warhammer 40k, and that's like 15 to 20 years ago. Long time. I've been like a World Eaters fan ever since those old ugly ass models, and I've been waiting for World Eaters to come out that whole freaking time with massive anticipation building up. So to have it come out like this, where off the back of the Chaos Space Marines Codex, which is probably one of the best codexes Games Workshop has ever released, in my opinion. The Chaos Space Marine Codex is absolutely amazing. It's dripping with options. There's a lot of diversity in it. It's fucking fantastic. So I was really excited, thinking when we get a World Eaters Codex, it's going to be amazing, because GW's on a hot streak. They're doing really good. The Guard Codex was really good. Even the Votann Codex was really good. It has lots of different sub-factions in it. It's got, all these new units in it. It's really exciting. So I was like, this World Eaters Codex is going to be fucking legit. And then it comes out, and it's like, okay, so there's one sub-faction, which is essentially an army of renowned. There's only 3 warlord traits, 3 relics, there's only 1 page of stratagems, there's only effectively only 2 new units. If you look at it, the Lord on the Juggernaut, that's not a new unit. He was a legend. So he was a unit. He was taken away, and now he's given back, and they're like acting like it's a new unit. And it's like, no. That's some abusive shit right there. If you take something from somebody and then give it back to them and then expect them to thank you, like, no, that's not how it works, right? So he's not really a new unit. The Khorne Berserkers are obviously not a new unit. So really, all we got was 8-bound and Jackals. And Angron, of course. But the 8-bound and the Jackals, well, Jackals are essentially just cultists, but more expensive. So they're not really a new unit. There's nothing that's exciting about them. And then the 8-bound are kind of just like possessed. They're not that new. So really disappointing on that front. I do love the models, and I think they've now slammed that out of the park. Particularly the Angron. I think Angron is a fucking beautiful model. But yeah, it's just it felt like a really soft release. I know there's a lot of people, and I count myself among them, that expect a 10th edition book to come out with even more units in it. Like, this was half of the release, which is entirely possible, and I think that's probably more likely than not, is that we'll get a 10th edition book, and that book will have all of the World Eaters, Terminators, and that book will have Bikers, or that book will have some kind of Rampages, or so that's possible. But it just feels super anemic, and it feels so disappointing coming off the back of the existing codexes. And then when you look at the rules are cool, the Blood Tithe is cool, there's a bunch of cool stuff in there, but it's so not balanced. The imbalance in that codex is insane, whereas the Chaos Space Marine Codex is super balanced. The decisions in the Chaos Space Marine Codex between what units you should take are really hard to make, because every unit has its pros and cons. There's strong reasons for taking each. Whereas the World Eaters Codex, it just feels like, okay, here is what you are going to do. You are going to take a bunch of units 8-bound, you are going to take a Lord Invocatus, you are going to take, it just feels really, really straightforward and boring and dull. So that's really disappointing for me. And I think GW have sort of intentionally done this as an attempt to split the codex in half, give us half of it now and the other half in 10th edition. But I just think that's a cop-out. I think that's weak, and it's quite disappointing to see. The next one was the limited edition codex. Now this one's a little bit different. This one's more about the model of their business and the way that they've organized the release of this. And basically, given that I've been anticipating this codex for so long, I was 100% getting a collector's edition, because I am a World Eaters collector, have been for fucking 20 years. So yes, I would like a collector's edition book. I know that they're a rip-off, by any traditional standards, because you don't really get anything special with it. You get a cover that doesn't have the Warhammer logo on it, but everything else about the cover is the same. You get gilded edges, like whoop-de-fucking do. But being that I'm such a passionate collector, I really fucking wanted one of those books. So basically, I went, all these rumors about when the pre-orders were going to go live, I went to the effort of calculating, when that would be going live in Australia, and then I stayed up all fucking night, hitting the refresh button every 5 minutes, just refreshing the fucking website, so that I would be the first in line, so that I would be able to pick up one of these limited edition codexes. So I sat there, refresh, and then it finally popped up and was immediately sold out. And I was like, there is no fucking way that this has sold out already. This is ridiculous. Literally 5 minutes into it going live, and it's already sold out. And the thing that sucks about this even worse is that I had friends in other countries doing this as well, and they are all experiencing the same thing. It was very difficult for people to get their hands on that collector's edition codex. Now, there's a lot of people saying that, it's not GW's fault, and that there's probably someone out there that's created a bot that's gone on all these websites, automatically refreshing every second or microsecond or whatever, and it is, just purchasing all of the collector's edition stuff before it even becomes available. and then they're going to sell it all on eBay. And there's two things that I think about that. First of all, I don't think that's the case, simply because I've been now searching on eBay and I can't even find a collector's edition fucking book on eBay. So I'm happy to pay the extra price. The price is not the issue. You know, I want that fucking collector's edition book, and I just can't get my hands on it. It's almost like it doesn't exist. It's almost like it never existed, because I have no way of accessing this book. You know, so I don't believe that it's bots, because if it was bots, you'd expect to see it on eBay, or you'd expect to see it on a buy swap sell or something like that. But it's not. And second to that is, if that's what the problem is, that doesn't absolve Games Workshop of any responsibility on this front. Like, Games Workshop could do things to very easily protect themselves from this, you know? So what I would like to see in the future for GW is they should just make it so that all collector's edition stuff is only available through stores. Instead of having it available online, make it so it's only available through stores. And that way, if somebody wants to pre-order it, they need to fucking go into the store or call the store and place the pre-order there. And that way bots can't do it, because a bot can't walk into Games Workshop and fucking order a book, right? So that protects you from the bots. And it also means that somebody like myself, who's, you know, a long-time World Eaters fan, who has a very good, long-standing relationship with my local Games Workshop store, you know, when rumors of the World Eaters Codex come out, I would have hit him up and be like, mate, you know what's up. You know that I get the first fucking book, mate. Like, I would pre-order that. Like, I would right now go to him and say, I would like to pre-order the 10th edition, limited edition World Eaters Codex. Even though it's not even out yet, there's no rumors of it existing. I would pre-order the pre-order. I would make sure that I'm absolutely in that line, you know. And if they did it this way, basically what it would do is mean that the die-hard fans, the people who are really, really invested in a faction, are much, much more likely to get their hands on the collector's edition. And those people trying to scalp it on eBay or trying to, you know, whatever, or even just those people who happen to be lucky enough to get a copy online, like, those people would be less likely, you know. And it sort of balances it out in a way that favors the die-hard fan, which is what those collector's edition books are supposed to be for. So that's my sort of thoughts on how that collector's edition should be handled. And I actually suspect, and this is the conspiracy part of it, is I suspect that this was an intentional play by GW. I believe that they intentionally have created essentially a false sense of, like, FOMO and a false sense of supply, so that people go nuts, you know, and try to buy something that essentially doesn't and never existed, you know. And I actually think it's almost worth, you know, going to the Consumer Affairs, like in Australia we have the Australian Consumer Commission or whatever the fuck it's called, because I'm pretty sure it's actually illegal to advertise something that's not ever available. You know, you can't put a sign out the front of your store saying, oh, we've got this special amazing thing for this really cheap price, to pull customers in, and then when they get in be like, oh yeah, no, sorry, we're sold out. You can't do that if you never sold it. It has to have been available to people, you know, for you to be allowed to advertise it. And from what I've heard, stories from other people, is that this World Eaters Collector's Edition book, it was simply just never available to them. You know, it may have been available to some people, but it just wasn't available to the population in a way that would justify advertising it, you know. It's almost like they've done this as a way of pulling people onto their web store to get the pre-orders, and then people get wrecked because they can't pre-order the codex, but then they just buy everything else while they're there. It's creating hype for something that doesn't exist. So that pisses me the fuck off. And then the last piece on this was the way that they actually handled the release of the minis. Now, I pre-ordered mine through my local gaming store when there was rumors of a World Eaters Codex. You know, as soon as the rumors came out that the World Eaters Codex was coming out and that we were getting new minis, I literally called up my local gaming store and I said, mate, how does the allocation work? Because I want everything, you know. I want If they release Terminators, I want 10 boxes of Terminators. If they release, new Berserkers, I want 10 boxes of new Berserkers. Like, I was prepared to drop several $1,000s on this release. I wanted to do it through my local gaming store because I want to support my local gaming store. But I was like, I need to know how this is going to work so that I don't get wrecked, but also so that I support him. Whereas, if this is something that the local gaming store is not able to do, well, then I'll just do it direct through GW or, whatever. And so he gets in touch with his rep. I won't name names here, but he gets in touch with his rep, and basically his rep is like, yeah, absolutely, we can do that. We can facilitate that, just figure out what he wants when the release comes out, and, we'll make sure that you get the stock so that, it's available and your customers can be happy, right? So that's what we do. So we basically wait until, it's revealed these are the units that are coming out. And I'm like, okay, cool. Looks like there's 8-bound Jackals, Berserkers, Juggernauts, and Angrons. So I'm like, I want a codex, I want Angron, I want 9 boxes of 8-bound because that'll allow you to run 3 units of 6 and 3 units of 3 Exalted 8-bound. So I'm like, okay, cool, I want that. I want a bunch of Berserkers, I want a bunch of Jackals, I want 3 of the new Juggernaut Lords that I can do an Invocatus and a couple of other guys. I want a bunch of Master Mechs. Like, I just want everything, right? So I put in this huge list of things. He then gets in touch with the GW rep. It's all confirmed. Yes, they will be available. We will make sure that your store gets allocated enough to fulfill that order, blah, blah, blah. So we're all looking good. Everything's fucking, peachy keen. Meanwhile, some of the big streamers and stuff out there and the big channels are getting advanced copies of stuff, which sort of frustrates me, but that's more just me being jealous than anything. But so I'm starting to see all these other people with these beautiful models that I've lusted over since I was fucking 15. And then it comes Thursday and I'm like, in touch with my gaming store guy, and I'm like, how's it going? He's like, yeah, it's all looking good, blah, blah, blah. Get in touch with him on Friday, and he's like, yeah, the courier hasn't come. If he doesn't get here by 5:30, I wouldn't be holding your breath for a delivery before Monday. And I'm like, but this weekend is the grand release, I had planned on doing live stream unboxing and a live stream, reading of the codex, and I took annual leave this weekend for the grand release because that's the release date, to plan all of this stuff. What do you mean it's not coming until Monday? And he basically said that GW are his most unreliable supplier, and that this happens to him all the time, where GW will do a big release, but not give it to him until the following Monday, And then I'm like, that's fucking ridiculous. That's unacceptable. Like, if they have a grand release of their product and you have pre-orders for that product, which you've had an ongoing conversation with your rep about, they need to deliver on that, Like, what do you mean? Like, how? And if the fact that they've already given the models out to content providers, so it's not like they don't have the models or the ability to distribute them, and the models are available in their stores on release day. It's available in all the Weimar stores on release day. Why the fuck aren't they available in the local gaming stores? That's bullshit. Like, people are saying, oh, it's distribution issues. Well, no, that's absolutely not true, because I work in distribution. I know how it works. And if you're able to distribute it to your stores, then you're able to distribute it to every store. There's no reason why you would only be able to distribute it to the stores you happen to own. That's not how, supply chain works. So I'm like, what the fuck? How is this a problem? And then I go online and I see that this isn't unique to my local gaming store. There's tons of local gaming stores that have been unable to fulfill their customers' orders. And I'm like, what? This is fucked. So, and that's the challenge that has sparked this video. I could forgive GW for releasing an anemic codex. I could forgive them for not being able to supply a limited edition codex to everyone. Both of those things are whatever. It's fair enough. I'm disappointed with it, and I think it could have been handled better. But I can handle not getting a limited edition codex. I'm not that entitled that I think I deserve a limited edition codex, and if they would release a garbage codex with, fuck all rules in it, it's really boring and it's really one-dimensional, that's fine, I can handle that, It's World Eaters. I didn't expect it to be this multi-dimensional, fucking complex, nuanced army. I expected it to be a bit, bit dull and a bit bash 'em on the head kind of thing. So I can accept those two things. But then when it comes to them not being able to even provide the models, it's like, what part of this release did you get right? Other than the sculpt of Angron, which is beautiful, every other step on the way, you fucking fucked it up. If you can't supply your product to the customers, that's a huge problem. And I could forgive them if it was a legitimate case of, there was a supply chain issue, Maybe, we didn't manufacture enough. Oh no, we didn't expect this much demand, Then sure, that's still disappointing, but it makes sense. But that's not what the case is here. The reps have confirmed, yes, we have the models. Yes, your store will receive the models. And then they've just failed to provide the models. And again, this is where my conspiracy hat comes on, because I think what's happening is GW are intentionally doing this to hurt the local gaming stores and to channel people into the Warhammer stores. Because the thing is if you buy it directly from Games Workshop, they get 100% of the profits, right? Because they're selling it to you for retail. Whereas if you buy it from your friendly local gaming store, GW have to sell it to them for wholesale price, and then your friendly local gaming store gets to make profit. So GW are essentially splitting the profits with the local gaming store, whereas if they sell it directly through their store, they're getting 100% of the profits. So naturally, there's an incentive for them to try to encourage people to buy it directly from them. They want it in local gaming stores to try to, build a sense of community and this, that, and whatever, but they still would much prefer if everybody just bought directly from them, And as a result, I think what they're doing is they're intentionally making it so that friendly local gaming stores feel unreliable, feel inconsistent, feel behind the eight ball, And as a result, people will just go, okay, cool. Next time there's a big release, if I want it on release day, I will not go through my local gaming store. I will go direct through GW, because last time I went through my local gaming store, I got rolled. And the chances of that happening directly through GW is much, much lower. So people will go direct to their GW. But it's like, no, that's ridiculous. I want to support my local store. I want to show them support. They do great work. They're the brick and mortar. They're the fucking, the independents. They're the people that are building the community that we all love. And I want to show them as much support as I possibly can. But I can't, how am I supposed to do that when GW is actively preventing them from accessing the product? And I'm not able to really see a way in which this isn't an intentional thing done by GW, because if the GW are able to get it in their own stores, then they should be able to get it in the local gaming stores. So the fact that they're not getting it in the local gaming stores tells me that GW are deciding not to get it into the local gaming stores. So, when their warehouse has a pallet of fucking 8-bound, and they're like, okay, cool, let's send a few boxes of these 8-bound out to our local Games Workshop store, our local Warhammer store. At the same time, you just go, and let's send a few out to the local, gaming club. Like, how hard is that? It's not hard. And you would probably end up putting them on the same fucking truck. So it's not like there's no trucks running around with fucking freight on them. It's not like there's no distribution network active. It's fucking active because you received it yourself. So why are you not able to allow others to receive it? It's bullshit. It's absolutely bullshit. So that's my biggest concern. The codex, whatever. The limited edition stuff, whatever. But the fact that they aren't even able to provide the goods on time is just unacceptable to me. And I think this is something that the community has genuine, justified outrage for. It's not okay. We shouldn't have to wait a week to get it through our local gaming store. They shouldn't be handicapping people who are trying to run a small business. That's disgusting behavior. So, I just wanted to sort of share that with you guys. Have a bit of a rant on the drive to work, blow off some steam. I appreciate you guys for letting me do this and for coming along with me for the ride. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, as always. And thanks for tuning in. Cheers.
Blood for the Black God.